be beaming, I be booming down that block. Everywhere you go, you know they know I'm hot.
What's the deal? What's going on, my good people? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Pull up a seat. I hope you enjoy the content. And before we get into this video, I want to ask that you like, comment, share, subscribe, and go ahead and tap that bell while you're at it so you're notified anytime I drop a brand new video, go live, or schedule a premiere. All right, y'all. So it's my favorite day of the week. I know I always say that, but I really do mean it. It is story time. I hope you guys are excited as well. This week, I'll be telling a story about Michelle Davenport. And just like last week's video, this video is based on true events, okay? All right, now before I get into it, two things. Number one, please be sure to share this video with anyone that you'd like to. Your circle of friends, social media, either one is good with me. And the second thing, please be sure to take a moment to watch the ads. I know the skip button is so tempting, but trust me, it is a huge help to me and to any other content creator that you support here on YouTube. All right, so that's it. Let's go ahead and get into this story. So today's story is based on Michelle Davenport, and Michelle is in her mid-50s, and she is a money and a finance guru. I'm talking about one of the top experts in this field. So she's a speaker and author. She's also a professor. She always is traveling the world, talking about money and finances, always being flown out somewhere, always on a panel, always at a convention, always has something going on. She is divorced and she has 3 adult children. So before she became a money and a finance guru, a big part of her identity was being a mom. Like, she was a stay-at-home mom for many years, for her 3 children. She has a son and 2 daughters. Her son is the oldest. And, her life revolved around her kids. Her husband at the time, Mark, he worked. And, she was at home taking care of the kids, taking care of the house, getting the kids off to school. Like I said, that was pretty much all she was, right? And then it got to a point where she wanted more for herself. As the kids started to get older, her husband, Mark, was very supportive of her wanting to transition out of being a stay-at-home mom, and he supported her. So, when the kids were at school, when she had downtime, she would read a lot about finances. Like, she was so into money and like savings and how to spend money and people's behavior around money. And, she just became really good and knowledgeable in that area. And then eventually, when she decided to go back to work, she got into, she wanted to be a teacher. Then she wanted to be a professor. And so, she did these different transitions and she started writing books. And like I said, she started just become this well-known, knowledgeable expert in this field. Like, people came to her and, got consultations and paid top dollar, for her to, speak to them and help them, with their company or with their individual, small businesses. Like, she was really on top, like she rose to the top and, just well respected for what she does. So present day, Michelle is just, she's that girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, people really, really value her opinion. So at this point, she's been working really, really hard. Okay. So the semester is about to start at school, and before it does, she wants to take a vacation. So she decides to take a solo trip. She goes to Europe. She's gone for like 4 or 5 weeks. And she's done a really good job of being disconnected, because it can really be easy to continue to work every single day while you're on vacation. But she really wanted to commit to the fact that it was time to really, really have some downtime, before she got back into work, right? And she knows also when she comes back, she has a book deadline coming up. She's about to start writing or turn in her 5th book. She's had some New York Times bestsellers, and so she has a lot on her plate coming up. So before all of this happens, she takes this vacation in Europe, right? So she's in Europe, she's exploring, she's going to different parts of Europe that she hasn't been to or hasn't been to in a while. And, she's really allowed herself to unplug. And, what's happening to her empire back home is she has an assistant named Travis. Travis has been her assistant for the last 3 or 4 years. He knows Michelle like the back of his hand. And she trusts Travis with all of her affairs. So, he's running her day-to-day operation. He's the go-to person, in terms of business. She only has her personal phone with her. In Europe, she didn't even bring her business phone because she really, really wanted to unplug and enjoy herself before she has to get back to it, right? So her 4 or 5 week vacation comes to an end, and it's now time to come back home. She lives in LA. So she's on the plane, had a couple of drinks, met a couple of people in first class, made a couple of connections, she did a little networking, got a client on the plane, which is typical Michelle. She goes to sleep. And when she wakes up, she lands at LAX. You know, she goes and gets her bags and everything, right? So she gets to her phone, and her phone has several messages. She has several voicemails from Travis. So she's freaking out and thinking the worst at this point, right? So she gets to a place where she can like hear, because you know there's a lot of noise and commotion, people walking around and talking, so she couldn't really hear. So she finally gets to a place in LAX where she can listen to Travis's message, right? So she listens, and you know Travis is just really frantic on the phone. And you know Travis is a very calm person who doesn't get worked up easily, right? So she's starting to get worried. He doesn't say much in the message. He's just like, give me a call. Like, call me as soon as you can. Like, as soon as your plane lands, call me, all right? ASAP, right? So she calls, and she calls Travis's phone, and he doesn't answer, but he calls her right back. And so she picks up the phone, and she's like, Travis, hey, like, I got all your voicemails. What's up? What's going on? And he doesn't really say anything immediately. She's like, hello, Travis. He's like, yeah, I'm here. Look, Michelle, I don't really know how to say this, but there's a dead body in your bed, in your master bedroom. She's like, what? He's like, I know. There's a woman, she's probably in her 20s, and looks like she was strangled to death, and she's in your bed. And she's like, I'm sorry, Travis. I'm having a hard time understanding. Why is there a woman in my room? Did you have company while I was gone? And he's like, okay, so don't be mad, but while you were gone, I decided to put your house on Airbnb. You know, I knew I could make, you know, just some side money, you know, and look, this wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be just a clean break. You know, the people left, and once everybody checked out of the Airbnb, I came to make sure everything was good before the cleaning crew got here. And I found this woman in your bedroom, and I just had to tell you, I couldn't let you just walk home into this. You know what I'm saying? And Michelle, I'm sorry. She's like, wait, okay. He's like, I know it's a lot to process. And I look, do you want me to call the police? She's like, no, don't call the police. Let me get to the house first. Let me just take a look at everything, and we'll just go from there. So Michelle had a driver pick her up at the airport. She pulls up to her house or her estate. It's a black SUV, tinted windows. You know, she gets out, driver grabs her things, gets her situated. And I'll say this, whoever rented her house had to have had money. And, you know, that's why Travis saw this as an opportunity, because her house is an estate. It's huge. It's like a 7 or 8 bedroom house. I mean, her house is massive. It's sitting up on a hill. And, you know, he knew that someone had to have bread. You had to have money in order to rent this house. So he knew he could make some quick money. And if something went wrong, the person will be able to afford to fix it, you know, before Michelle made it home, right? So anyways, Michelle, you know, gets inside the house, and, you know, she's looking around. She doesn't know how many people were inside of her house, but there aren't a lot of things out of place. So she makes her way, you know, to her bedroom, and her stomach is in knots as she gets closer and closer to her bedroom, right? She goes in, and from a distance, she sees this girl laying right in the middle of the bed. You can't help but notice these marks around her neck, and she just can't continue to stand there and look. So she, you know, walks out, and she's kind of just talking to Travis, you know, in the hallway, and, you know, she's asking, like, was there video footage? Were my cameras on? And he's like, no, like, I turned the cameras off because I had to comply, you know, with Airbnb's, their policy for privacy. And so, no, there is no footage. And, you know, and so she's like, can you get in touch with the person that rented the house? Like, and he's like, no, like, I tried to. I don't know if they had a bogus account, but I can't get in touch with anybody. So here we are. We have no leads. I mean, should we call the police? I don't know how long she's been here. I have no idea. What should we do? And so she goes back into the room to just look around the room real quick. And then she happens to take another look at the girl, and she's floored. At this point, she realizes that this girl, this 20-something-year-old girl that's laying in her bed, is actually one of her former students. And she's like, fuck, I know her. Like, this is Brittany. Her name is Brittany. I think her name was Brittany Ellis. I had her about 3 or 4 years ago. And fuck, I can't believe I know this girl. And so he's like, so what, should we call the police? And she's like, no, we can't call the police. Like, me knowing her feels like, no, like, this can't get complicated. It can get messy. And the last thing I need right now is an investigation. Like, I have my book coming up. I got to get back to school, and I can't have this heat around me. Like, no, like, this is not good. Like, I have some different partnerships and stuff coming up. And the last thing I need is to be in a situation where a woman is found dead in my house. And so she's like, look, Travis, you know what you got to do. All right. So, and by that, she means like she knows fixers. She knows people that come in and clean up messes for top dollar. Right. So she's like, Travis, you made this mess. You're going to have to clean it up. All right. So make the phone call. I don't care how much I have to pay, 2 times, 3 times the amount, but I need this taken care of today. All right. So please let me know when it's done. Right. So Michelle grabs her thing. She calls the driver. The driver comes and picks her up and takes her to her apartment across town. And it's a penthouse apartment. I mean, it's beautiful, has a great view of the city. The furniture is immaculate. Like, the place itself is just in good condition. Someone always comes in to check on it, to clean it, make sure it's good. It has a stock bar, stock refrigerator. So again, someone is always there to come and check in, to clean it, keep it updated and stuff like that, right? So Michelle hasn't been here in a while, but she comes in, she feels right at home. And she's really just racking her brain about what the fuck just happened, and just really hoping that this doesn't come back and bite her in the ass, right? So she's pacing around, looks in the refrigerator. There's food, but nothing she really wants to eat, nothing really quick that she can grab. So she orders food, makes herself a drink, makes a cocktail, and is just sitting in all of this. And also wondering, should she call anybody? Should she call her lawyer? Should she call, a friend or anybody? But she feels like nobody should know about this. Her and Travis, that's enough. That's it. That's where this should stop. And they need to clean this shit up and just move forward. You know what I'm saying? So the next couple of days go by and she's back in the classroom. She's back teaching. She's back with a new set of students, getting to know them, laying out, what the course is about and what they're going to learn over the course of the semester. And, she really isn't herself. You know what I'm saying? Like, she is missing a couple of beats. Like, she's not moving at the right pace because she's really just occupied about this situation. You know what I'm saying? And it's like she feels like she's seeing Brittany's face. You know what I mean? When she's looking into, the sea of people and students that are, looking back at her, and she just feels off. You know what I'm saying? The class was supposed to last 50 minutes. She ended it about 35 minutes in, telling everybody, I'll see you guys on Wednesday, and, we'll pick up where we left off. You know what I'm saying? She goes back to her office. She ends up leaving her office early, gets back to her apartment, and she's drinking, you know what I'm saying? Has a drink, and she just feels uneasy about everything. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, that's just a lot. You know what I'm saying? Finding someone murdered in your house unexpectedly like that, right? Coming home to that. And so she goes to sleep and she's having nightmares about what happened. You know what I'm saying? Who did it? How did it happen? You know what I'm saying? And really, as she's waking up, in these cold sweats, just feeling like, is what she did wrong? You know what I'm saying? She's a parent. She's a parent, and she's like, is what she did wrong? And, she just has to realize that it's time to just move on. There's nothing that she could do. There's nothing that she can change at this point. What's done is done, and she did the right thing. You know what I'm saying? She made it go away. The fixers did what they were supposed to do. Everything went smooth. She ended up paying 2 times their fee, and she just has to now move on. That's how life is. Shit happens. You got to get yourself together, then you got to move on. You know what I'm saying? And she gets back into it. You know what I'm saying? So she's back to writing her book. You know what I'm saying? Making time to do that every single day. She's back to, she has her footing and stuff together. She's teaching and, really being that expert that everybody knows and respects in her field. You know what I'm saying? Like, really dropping a lot of gems, answering her students' questions, sharply and confidently. That's what she's known for. You know what I'm saying? So she feels like she's getting back into the groove of herself. You know what I mean? So a week has gone by, 2 weeks has gone by since everything went down. So it's the 3rd week, since everything happened, right? And for her, she really has just let this situation go. Like, she's like, I have to move on. Like, she has not looked back. Her and Travis haven't talked about it again. They have just simply moved on, period, right? So Travis is doing what he has to do, and she's doing what she has to do in the different parts of her life, right? So Michelle is on campus, and she's in her office, and, tonight's going to be a long night. She really needs to knock a bunch of work out, right? So she's, going through some paperwork, writing some stuff down, and she's looking down. Then she looks up, and she sees an email. An email comes in, and the subject line says, "You can't run from this." So as she's about to click on the email, it disappears. And she's like, it's been a long day. I haven't really eaten. I'm probably just tripping, right? So she gets back to work. She's looking down. She's shuffling through paperwork. She's reading through some stuff or whatever. Looks back up, sees an email, and the subject line says, "Blood is on your hands." And so same thing. Just as she's about to click on the email, it disappears. And she's like, fuck. Am I tripping? You know, a couple weeks ago, I was having nightmares. I was seeing Brittany, you know, when I would look at my students. Am I tripping, or is this really happening right now, right? So she's questioning herself, what she saw. So she continues working, right? She's looking down. She's drinking tea. She stands up. She walks around. She stretches, takes a few deep breaths, comes back to her desk, sits down, gets back to work. And then there's 3 emails that come in back to back to back. There's no subject line on these. So she looks at them, but she can tell there's an attachment to each one of them. So in the first one, it looks like just a video of someone pulling up to her house, right? Second video shows people in her house. So this is clearly footage from, like, you know, whatever people were doing. Whoever rented the house out and they had people over, had to get together or party. This is clearly footage from that night, right? Then in the third video, there's footage of Brittany being strangled. And then there's footage of her actual dead, lifeless body, right? And so, you know, Michelle gets out of the videos and she's like, fuck. She's just sitting there, you know what I'm saying? She can't think what to do, doesn't know what to do, doesn't know what to say. Another email comes in, no subject line. She clicks on it and it says, I need $500,000 to make this go away. So Michelle frantically calls out for Travis. He rushes in. He's like, what's going on, Michelle? Are you okay? What's wrong? And she's like, fuck, I thought this was going to go away. I thought that we were going to be able to move on with no issue. Somebody's trying to fucking blackmail me. He's like, are you serious? So she shows him the messages and he's like, damn. All right, look, let me take all of this. I'm going to go to the fixers and see if they can make this go away. See if they can find out the source and where this was generated from, and we can get to the bottom of it. And she's like, okay, that's a good idea. Go ahead, do that. You know, I don't care what the price is. Like, if they can help, yes, I want them to do whatever they can do to make this shit really go away. And he's like, all right, look, Michelle, you look like shit. Go home. Like, go home, get a good night's rest. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of this, right? So she does as Travis tells her to do. So she goes home. She goes into her apartment. Now, at this point, you guys, like, she has not been back home. She just doesn't feel comfortable after she saw Brittany's dead body, the nightmare. She has not gone home. Her home has been empty. And she is just tripping. Like, she doesn't know what to think, if this thing is going to come out. Like, the last thing she needs is for these videos to be public. You know what I'm saying? To see and uncover what it is that she's done and what she's been a part of. Like, her whole world, her reputation, this thing that she has built will come crashing down. So all she's thinking about is Travis being able to fix this and them being able to just really make this thing go away. You know what I'm saying? This is the last thing that she needs. So she doesn't really get good sleep that night. You know, she gets up, you know, goes back to the campus. You know what I'm saying? She starts off in her office. She, you know, she goes to her classes. She has a couple back-to-back classes. She makes it through. She doesn't look great. She's not her best. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's just worried at this point. She's waiting for Travis's call for him to give her some type of update. So she gets through her work day. She makes it back to her office again. Travis isn't there. You know, so she's sitting at her office and not really doing anything, just anxious at this point. Then eventually Travis comes into the office and he's just like, there's nothing that they could do. You know, they tried and they can't figure out where this email came from or who's behind it. And she's like, that's not good enough. And he's like, well, look, I don't know what to tell you. They are the best at what they do. And unfortunately, they can't figure it out. So I don't know what to tell you, Michelle. Like, and she's like, Travis, this shit would have never happened had you never put my house up on Airbnb. He was like, look, Michelle, I know that. And if there was something I could do to right this fucking wrong, I would. I'm sorry. I never meant to put you in this situation. And so she's like, look, I'm sorry. Like, look, I'm not even mad at you. I'm not even mad at you. Actually fucking renting my house out is a really smart and good idea. I just can't believe that it came to this. As Michelle and Travis are sitting there talking, she gets an email. Another email comes in and she reads it. And it says, the clock is ticking. You have 72 hours, right? And they include the wire instructions, you know what I'm saying? The time at which the money needs to be delivered. And they make it very clear that, like, if she misses this deadline, this video is going to every single outlet imaginable, every platform. And her back is against the wall, you know? She's like, the only thing we can do at this point, if we can't make it go away, is to give them the money. And so Travis is like, are you sure? She's like, yes, I'm sure. I have to let this go away. There's no way that I can lose everything that I've worked hard for. I can't let this happen. So the $500,000, she has it, right? She'll take a little hit for it, but she'll be able to recover, you know, quickly, right? So she's like, Travis, go ahead and gather the money, get it together. I would like to send it on the 70th hour. You know, I want to give a little time to see if anything changes. And that's it. Let's just move forward with doing this shit. Fuck it. And so he's like, all right, you know, I'll start getting everything together to get this money, you know, situated so we can send it off. And, you know, she makes her way home. And as she's just driving home, she just can't believe that she's in this situation, you know. And, you know, she understands what it's like. You know, people who have money, you know, are in these kind of situations all the time where they're either being sued or people are hanging things over their head. But she never thought that she would be in a situation that could really destroy, you know, this world, this life that she's created for herself. You know what I'm saying? And she's made a lot of sacrifices and overcame a lot of odds and did things that people said she couldn't do. And there's just no way that she can allow that to slip through her hands. You know what I'm saying? So she goes home, barely eats, and finds a way to go to sleep, right? So she wakes up the next day and she somehow makes it through her classes. And, you know, she gets back to her office and her phone is ringing and it's Mark. And Mark is her ex-husband. You know, he's who she had her 3 children with. And they've been divorced like 10 years. But they had a friendship before they were married, while they were married, and were able to co-parent successfully even while they were divorced. And they, you know, are really like best friends, honestly, you know. And Mark has been calling her, but she hasn't been taking his calls. And so she misses this call again, but then she decides to give him a call. Like, she probably could really use, you know, a familiar voice at this time. You know what I'm saying? With all this shit going on. And so Mark is just like, hey, like, what's up? Like, I've been calling you. Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Just, you know, I had to hit the ground running once I got back from vacation and I've been really busy and I've been meaning to call you. And yeah, so, hey, what's going on? And he's like, nothing. You know, I'm just calling to check on you. Wanted to also see if you wanted to come over for dinner. She's like, I know how you are. You know, you don't eat for long stretches at a time. You probably aren't cooking. So I'm sure you could use a home cooked meal. And she's like, you know, yeah, I actually would like that. And he's like, cool. Like, I'm making pasta. You know, I have wine, all your favorite wine and everything is over here. Tequila, whatever you want. So come over. And she's like, yeah, I'll come over. Well, I'm about to wrap up at work. I'll be there in like an hour. And he's like, all right, cool. I'll see you later. So Michelle makes it to Mark's house and really it's exactly what she needs. You know, a home cooked meal, conversation, laughter. You know, they're reminiscing about, you know, places they used to travel to, things that they've done together, you know, how they first met. And when they reminisce, it's never in a way of like trying to be, you know, get back together, not in a romantic way, just in a friendly kind of way, you know. And because of the stress that she's been under, you know, the anxiety, the pressure of the situation that's going on, you know, this is perfect. And of course, Mark doesn't know, just like nobody else knows what's happening. You know, he has no idea. So his call was really just on time and inviting her over, you know, for a night to just kind of like feel like herself again. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, she enjoys the meal. He makes like this shrimp pasta dish and it's so good. She has 2 helpings of it. She packs a to-go plate. So it's getting late and Michelle is about to leave. But before she does, she goes to the restroom, and as she's walking back through the hallway, she sees a picture that catches her attention. So she flips on the light switch, and it's a small picture. She notices her and Mark's son, their son, Nicholas. And as she pulls the, you know, the whole picture to the side, he's next to Brittany. He is in a picture with Brittany. This is the same Brittany that was Michelle's student, but also the same Brittany that was found strangled in her bed, you know. And so she's just shocked. And so she calls out to Mark and she has the picture in her hand and she's like, who's this? And she's like, oh, that's Nicholas's girlfriend, some girl named Brittany. I haven't met her, but yeah, when he was here last time, he dropped this picture off or whatever. And she was like, oh, okay. And so now she's frantic. Okay. Now she's really in a frenzy. So she's really grabbing her things very quickly. And he's like, are you okay? She's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's getting late. Let me hurry up and get back home across town or whatever. And so she gets into her car and now she's thinking at this point. Now, she could easily just pick the phone up and call Nicholas and ask him about his girlfriend, right? But they don't have the best relationship. They never have had a good relationship. They're never been good in childhood, hasn't been good in adulthood. And she's just thinking, okay, Brittany is in a picture with my son. What do I do with that? How do I unpack that, right? So Michelle makes it home. She quickly gets to the door, puts her things down on the counter, makes her way to her laptop, and she's now at this point Googling Brittany's name. She's Googling her name to see if anything comes up for a police report, police information. Are they looking for Brittany? Missing persons report, something, because she remembers that Brittany had family. Brittany would talk about her mother and her father, her siblings, her friends. She always talked about her loved ones. So she was like, if something happened to Brittany, people will be looking for her. So she looks, and of course it comes back empty. There's nothing. There's nobody looking for Brittany Ellis in LA County, in Orange County, in Riverside County, in San Diego County. She's looking all through Southern California. There's nothing linked to that name or anybody missing, you know, with that name, right? So now she goes into her student files, right? She goes to her records, and, you know, there's very limited information available on Brittany. Like, she doesn't know her date of birth or anything like that, but Michelle finds this address that's associated with Brittany's file. It's the last known address on file for her. So she gets this information, and the next day she makes her way to this house, right? And she sits outside of it like she's committed to just camping out at this address as long as she needs to. Now, at this point, it's about 10 in the morning. The street is pretty quiet, and there aren't a whole lot of cars driving back and forth. 11 o'clock comes and goes. 12 comes and goes. 1 comes and goes. There aren't any blinds opening in this house. There's no curtains being pushed back, no doors opening. There are 2 cars in the driveway, though. So she believes that there is someone in the house and that eventually someone will come out. Okay, so about 3, 4 o'clock, an older man, probably in his 70s, comes out of the house. And as much as she wants to go up to him and say something, she doesn't. But she watches him get in the car. He leaves. He's gone for about 30 minutes. He comes back. He goes back into the house. And so at this point, she thinks there's nothing else going to happen. You know, nightfall comes, and it looks like nothing else is going to happen at the house. So she leaves, comes back the next day, camps out in front of the house again, and it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So around 2 o'clock, the door opens, and there's the older man, there's an older woman, there are a couple of younger kids coming out, and the last person that comes out of the house is Brittany. She sees Brittany Ellis, her former student, the woman who was strangled in her bed, alive and well, walking to this car. And she gets in the car with the rest of the people that came out of the door. And Michelle is floored. So now Michelle is in a frenzy. She gets back to her place. She gets inside. She makes a drink because she can't believe what she just saw with her eyes. And this now she's like, okay. So one piece of the puzzle makes sense. So Brittany was clearly involved in something, but with who else though? Like, I know it wasn't just her, right? So at this point, Michelle is now thinking about her security cameras. Like, she thinks about, you know, how Travis said that he had to turn them off, you know, during, you know, when the stay was happening for Airbnb, for their privacy, in order to comply. But in her mind, she just really can't remember if she turned them on or not, you know, once she made it back to the house. So she grabs her phone and she's going to the app, you know, for her security cameras. As soon as she launches it, she realizes her cameras are on now. So they must have been on, you know, since she left the house originally, you know, when she left, everything happened, right? So she's going back for the days and the time that's gone by and that's lapsed. She's going back. And sure enough, everything was recorded, you know, since she left, when Travis had the fixers come in and everything, right? So she's looking, you know, she leaves the house. She sees the girl laying in the bed. At this particular time mark, she would have left the house. And then suddenly, at this point when she's looking, she's probably been gone from the house for about 5 minutes. Then suddenly Brittany's body moves. All right. So Brittany gets out of the bed with her own free will. This was clearly staged. Okay. But she sees Travis in the frame. Travis is helping, you know, remove the sheets, and they're putting things back in place and they're wiping things down. And then also who walks into the frame is her son, Nicholas. Okay, so Nicholas is now in the frame helping clean, remove the sheets. They're sweeping, they're wiping walls, they're removing things. You know, they're putting this place back together. And they are the fixers, okay? They're fixing this situation and putting her place back into, you know, a livable condition, putting things back where they belong. And as Michelle is just watching all of this, she can't believe that it's happening. But as she's seeing it, she knows for sure that her son would have had to be the one that was the brains behind this. You know, he seems like the one that would have the biggest motive to do anything like this, right? Still knows what she has to do. So she gets in her car and, you know, she drives about 20 minutes away from her house, and she arrives to this residential area, and she pulls in front of a house, and she sits there and she looks. The house looks empty. The lights are off. And she goes and walks up, you know, walks up to this house, and she walks onto the property, and she walks onto the porch, and she sits there. Now, where she's positioned on this porch, you really wouldn't be able to see anybody sitting if you were walking up. So it's about 9:30 at this time, 9:30, then it's 10:30, then around 11 o'clock, she hears footsteps coming up and approaching the house. So she's like sitting on like a swing that is on this porch. And as the footsteps get closer, you know, she walks up and a light comes on, like a motion light. And it's her son, Nicholas. And he's startled when he sees her. And he's like, hey, Mom, what are you doing here? Why are you just sitting on the porch? Hey. And she's like, hey, Nicholas, it's been a while. And he's like, yeah, it has been. Do you want to come inside? And she's like, yeah, I'd love to. So he opens the door and they go inside and, you know, she takes a seat. But it's awkward. You know, there's tension. Now, they would have had tension anyway because, as I mentioned, they don't have the best relationship. And he's like, hey, do you want some water? You want some coffee? She's like, I'll take some coffee. And so he makes her some coffee. And, you know, she's watching every move that he's making. And he's making the coffee. And they're not really exchanging any words at this point. It's just quiet, you know. He makes the coffee. He gives it to her. And, you know, she has her coffee. And it's piping hot. And she's holding it. And she, you know, blows on it and takes a sip. And she lets that sip, you know, go down. And she's sitting there looking at him. He's looking at her. He's drinking a bottle of water. And she's just like, Nicholas, like, why? All I want to know is why. And he's like, what are you talking about, Mom? And she's like, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Why? Why would you set me up to do some shit like this? You trying to blackmail me for money? You have Brittany in my house pretending to be strangled and dead. I think I have this lifeless body. I think I have blood on my hands. Like, why would you do something like this, Nicholas? And, you know, he doesn't try to resist. He doesn't lie. He doesn't, you know, try to pretend, you know, that he's not a part of this. And he's just like, I just saw an opportunity, Mom. I know you were going out of the country. And, you know, I knew that I could make something like this happen. I knew that I could make it believable. I knew that you would try to make it go away. I knew that you wouldn't call the police. You're so calculated. I knew how you were going to respond. And you did exactly what I thought you would do. And so she was like, so how did you get Brittany on board to do this? Travis, like, what? And she was just like, well, I mean, first of all, I didn't know that Brittany was your student. But, I mean, she was on board to do it. And plus, she was going to get a part of the $500,000. And Travis, I mean, I needed him because I needed him to help, you know, with your moves and access and doing things and making it make sense. Like, he knows your every move. He knows your schedule. He knows everything about you. You know what I'm saying? As I was trying to get this $500,000 out of you, he knew that when you would get those emails, he knew everything. I had to have Travis involved. I couldn't have done this without him. And let me tell you this, Mom, he didn't come on board easily. You know what I'm saying? But then he saw the opportunity as well, that he'd be able to make some money, some extra money off of this situation that was really supposed to just happen very smoothly. How did you find out? Well, seeing the picture of you and Brittany at your dad's house didn't help. But why? Like, why would you do something like this? If you needed some money, you could have just asked. Could I? Could I have just asked, Mom? Could I have just told you that my house is about to be foreclosed upon? Could I have said that? You know, I have this mom who's a money and financial guru and all of my shit is just upside down. I don't have it figured out. I'm living a paycheck to paycheck kind of life and things are tight for me. So I saw an opportunity and I took it. Isn't that what you told me to always do? Yeah, but not like this. You don't do this to your mother. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, and I hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive me. You don't even sound like you mean that shit. I do. You know? And it was just easy to do this to you because it feels like that you don't even care about me. I don't hear from you. I don't spend time with you. My sisters do, but I don't. You know how that feels? Nah, I don't know how it makes you feel. You know? I can imagine that it doesn't feel good knowing that I spend so much time with your sisters and that we barely talk. And because we don't talk, it's easy to keep on doing that. You know that. We do it to each other, you know. We make these promises on how we're going to make things different and work on our relationship, and then it falls to the wayside. We go back into our old routine of not talking, of not checking on each other. And I get buried in work, and you get buried in whatever it is you're doing, whatever that is. And he's like, yeah, I know. And she's just like, look, I think it's time for you to know something to make a little bit more sense on why I feel like our relationship just never really worked out like that. And this isn't an excuse. And it isn't a reason for me as a mom not to be there for you. But Okay. When I met your dad, you were 1.5, about to be 2 years old. I'm not your birth mother. I don't know what happened to your mom. She just up and left. She left your dad. She left you. And, you know, when I met your dad, we hit it off. I knew that you guys were a package deal. And I promised that I would do my best to be a mom to you. And I don't know if it was because I didn't actually give birth to you, that we just didn't have a connection, you know. And I'm sorry that our relationship just never really felt right. He's like, wait, so you're not my mom? And she's like, I'm your mom, but not your birth mother. I am the woman who was around and did her best to try to raise you and take care of you and turn you into a decent person. But I don't know what happened to your mom. And she never came back around. She never checked on you. And I hate that I had to tell you like this, but I mean, it's time that you know. You're in your 30s, and you should know that maybe that did have something to do with our relationship. And he just can't believe it. He's hurt, disappointed, you know, and that's it. That's the end of the story, though, you know. And, you know, eventually Nicholas got to a place of having to go and talk to somebody, you know, because of everything that he was feeling and what he learned about his mom not being there, and just that rejection and that, you know, that being abandoned by the woman who was supposed to be around for him. And he did his research. He couldn't find anything about his mom. Mark doesn't know anything about his birth mother either. Like I said, she just up and didn't want to do this anymore. She did not want to be a mom, and she left. It's like she just disappeared off the face of the earth, you know, and, you know, that's it, you know. And he went to therapy, and eventually, you know, him and Michelle went to therapy together, and, you know, they really got to a point of, you know, releasing certain things, addressing certain things in their relationship, and getting to a better state in their relationship. Now, were they close? I don't think that they'll ever be close, but they have at least an understanding. And, you know, just making the effort to really try to have a mother-son relationship as best as they can, you know. But yeah, this is a story about, you know, people being driven to do things, you know what I'm saying? Like to take advantage of a situation, you know, when there's just that feeling of like not being connected to somebody, like as you should probably be connected to your mother. When you don't have that, anything is possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I said, like he said, you know, Nicholas saw an opportunity and he wanted to take advantage of it. And all he had to do was talk his girlfriend into it, talk his mom's assistant into it. You know, they all make out, you know, with over 6 figures each. And, you know what I'm saying? Michelle had everything that she, you know, needed to recover from that. And everybody knew that. Brittany knew it. You know, Travis knew that. You know what I'm saying? And also Nicholas knew that. You know, of course, he had to convince Travis to get on board. But, you know, who wouldn't want to make a quick $100,000? You know, if you knew you can clean the mess up really quick, things were supposed to go smooth. But, you know, Michelle seeing that picture at her ex-husband's house really got her to thinking about things, you know. So, and also, too, Nicholas had no idea that Brittany was her former student. Had no idea. You know, eventually they put the pieces together, you know what I'm saying, after they started dating or whatever. But he didn't know that. They just kind of ended up together by chance. So that's the story. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, you know. And if you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and meet me in the comments. And make the best of the day, y'all. Be good to yourself. Peace.
I be beaming, I be booming down that block. Everywhere you go, you know they know I'm hot.